Let's talk about Initiative Machines. Stock symbol LUNR. I guess that's short for lunar, right? If I'm putting two and two together. In any case, the stocks really took off November, December, into January, peaked in February, landed on the moon in February. And since then, it has gone from around $25 a share all the way down to the sixes. Now it resides around $8.79. So a significant pullback, more than 65%. What I want to do in this video is not so much get caught up in the hype of the stock. I don't want to really talk about what it's going to do and why the story is so great. I want to look at it from a technical standpoint. A lot of times people don't like to look at it from a technical standpoint because it doesn't always line up with what their outlook of the stock is. That's fine. It's a different way to look at the stock. It's a different approach than what you might be used to, and accept it as that. But let's go ahead and take a look at the stock. So going back to August, it had a trend line that it was working off of, and it was staying pretty steady off of that rising trend line. And then it went parabolic. It went vertical. It got detached from that trend line like we've seen so many times here over the past year. And Lunar's no exception to that one. I guess I shouldn't call it Lunar. It's LUNR, right? There's not an actual A in it. Well, in any case, it created another trend line. And then, of course, it created another trend line after that. And what all these trend lines had in common is that they kept getting steeper and steeper as the hype got bigger and bigger on it. So this yellow line here, this was the one that was formed off of December lows. It broke here in February. And then February just was like cascading trend line break after trend line break. It actually came back at one point to try to recapture this trend line, but it tested it and broke down right thereafter. And it's just been a waterfall ever since. So then we broke the one that went back to November. That got shattered. And then the one back to August, broken with just pure abandonment. So now we got a little bit of a basing pattern here. It's been basing going back to March. Now, what I think is somewhat encouraging, if you're looking at it from a long standpoint, is that this seems to be a support level that goes all the way back to April of last year. If we look at it from a weekly chart, you can see where it's tested this level on multiple occasions. And so once again, here in March, it's testing it and so far holding it. What you want to see is it to do three things: test, hold, and then bounce. We're getting a little bit of the bounce underway here. It was down, yes, 4.46% today. That is a lot, but when you look at it, against the backdrop of the overall stock, 5%, 4%, not a big move for the stock, really. I mean, you wouldn't think much about this kind of a candle if we're talking about Apple or Amazon, but this is a very volatile stock that has some wild swings. So you have to go into it with that mindset. Now, from a personal standpoint, would I trade this? No. But there's a lot of people out there that like this stuff. I've gotten some requests on the stock, so that's why I'm doing it here. I don't really care too much about the story. Again, what I'm looking for is the technical outlook. What I could see developing on this stock is a cup and handle. So you have the perfect cup right here already in development. Pulling back a little bit. You don't want it to pull back too far, but if it comes back down a little bit more and then starts to round it out and then move back up to the upside, you could have a cup and handle pattern with the potential to fill this little mini gap right here. It's probably not so many when you look at it, when you step back and look at it, but at 1039, that would be a gap fill. What you have to watch out for is this declining trend line, and this declining trend line has got some merit to it. We'll give it like a red color here. People don't really like it when I use the red lines. They tend to take offense to it, but nonetheless, whatever. You have some resistance here. So you have one layer of resistance there where it tested trying to get back above it. Couldn't. Tested again in February here. So if you get a big breakout, this would probably be the next target that I would say, to watch out for on this stock. You have some resistance right here, but again, I don't think this is going to come into play, so we can go ahead and get rid of that. I really think that from a target standpoint, yeah, it could move back up to 17. Is that a wild projection? Probably so, but there's just not a lot of resistance, and you're talking about a stock that's very volatile. This is a stock that can move 15, 20% in a day. Likewise, you can also lose 15 to 20% in a day. Now, I also mentioned that this is a stock that I probably wouldn't play. Why is that? It's not that I frown upon people who do play those. For me, risk management is everything. If I can't manage a stock according to my risk management preferences and the ability to keep the emotion out of the trade, then I'm not going to trade it. When you start talking about stop losses of 15, 16, 20%, you're talking about a lot of risk there. And in order to justify that risk, you probably need a 40% move to justify it. Yes. Is it possible there? It sure is. But if you're wrong on the trade, there's a lot of losses that you have to incur as a result. And that's not really something I want to take on. If you enjoyed this video, I would encourage you to like and subscribe, and let me know down in the comments below, is LUNR a stock that you would ever consider trading? Is this in your wheelhouse, or is this like, nah, I'm going to let somebody else handle this one? That's not for me. Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you guys, and God bless.